Well, hello, I'm Dr. Larry Carnes. Welcome to Spotlight TV. We're so glad that you could join us for another exciting episode. And we have a very special guest with us today. Kathy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. We're so excited to have you here with us today. Do this for us. Introduce yourself to our viewing audience. Tell them a little bit about who you are.
Okay. I'm a 68-year-old grandmother. I have 4 kids and 9 grandchildren. And I'd been thinking about writing this book. I had a story in mind. I've always liked fantasy and science fiction. And my first experience with science fiction fantasy was Edgar Rice Burroughs' Mars series. I went to the library and picked out that book at the age of 8 and have been interested in that type of genre since then. And so I mentioned to my children that I was thinking about writing this book, and my middle son said, you'll never do it. You'll never write a book. Well, I did, and I published it originally in 2017. And so that's where we are now. I'm a widow. My husband died last year, along with my mother and my aunt and my mother-in-law. So last year was kind of a challenge, but
My
I'm doing
goodness.
okay.
Yes.
I'm determined, and I'm going to keep on keeping on.
Well, I tell you, you're to be commended. I mean, you persevered through a lot. So, and our
Thank you.
condolences to you, but
Thank you.
you're to be
Thank you.
commended for your strength. And we
Well,
just,
thank you.
yes,
Well,
you talk about this powerful book. And I saw something here. You talk about a gifted winglet grows into a girl who is determined to follow her path, whatever that might be. One day after she insists that she wants to study magic at a special academy by the cliffs, she leaves her grandfather. Now, but then it says the grandfather has no choice but to go with her.
exactly.
Talk to us about that.
Okay, well, the planet Eruna, there's constantly wind on it, and the concept, it's winged beings as well as unwinged beings, and the winged beings call their children winglets.
Okay.
There's a school by the cliffs, far to the south, in the 8 realms, and all the children, by the time they're 8 cycles old, they have to go to the cliffside school. It's called Cliffside, where there are 3 trees. I had the concept of living in giant trees long before Avatar came out, but they live in trees. However, the little girl, Ulu is her name, and her grandfather is Tavat, and he's the leader of a clan of winged beings that live very far to the north. And she's just a very young thing. And it's a relationship, it's about a relationship between a grandfather and his granddaughter, but it's also a love story because at the school there are characters that fall in love, the high matriarch's daughter and a young man named Joran. There are all kinds of twists and turns in it. I've had the fortune to live in many different countries, many different states. And so I've been exposed to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different religions, and a lot of different things. And so I wanted to sort of use that to express in my book. There's a very clear definition between the good and the evil. And it's just a really fun book. My grandchildren that are old enough to read, they've all read it. It's very clean. There's no foul language, but there's definitely evil. There's definitely good. And I make that very clear in the book. And it's a book about struggling and overcoming, about love, about duty, about honor. And so that's just basically what the book is about.
Yes. Now you say something here. You talk about, unfortunately, their journey faces lots of danger.
Yes,
So,
they have to travel through ice fields. They come upon terrible creatures, but they do meet one fairly unique creature named Gorman, and he becomes Ulu's friend, and she's teaching him her language. Her grandfather's not real sure about this character, but they have a lot to do with each other. and the warriors that go with her, there are male and female warriors that go with her. And it's a story about them too, and about Tavat, the leader of the clans.
Yes, yes. Now, here's something. You talk about this being a story of strength in the midst of adversity, as a gifted winglet sets out on a quest to battle the evil that overshadows her land. And you talk about the intimacy of the relationship with the grandfather.
Yes.
That speaks volumes. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, my husband, who died last year, had a very good relationship with his grandchildren, and especially our firstborn was a daughter. He had a wonderful relationship with her, and her firstborn was a little girl. And so I sort of played on that it was a very sweet relationship. And so that's sort of where I drew that from. But that's not all of the story. At Cliffside School, as I said, there's the daughter of the ruler of the whole land, who's called High Matriarch. She's an evil character, by the way, but her daughter, Lynette, is a very good character. And she falls in love with another character there at the school. And so that's also part of the story.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of twists and turns. So it's not just about Ulu and Tavat. It's about Lynette and Joran, and it's about their friends, and they go on a journey. Lynette and Joran end up together, much to the dismay of the High Matriarch. But there's also a very bad character named Sarnak involved, and a former wind dancer who sort of is responsible for bringing this demonic type character to the forefront. And Ulu gets tricked into actions that she does not want to make because of her great love for her grandfather.
So you have that culture connection and the love for the grandfather that will compel her to do some things that she really didn't want to do.
Correct.
That is powerful. I'm noticing here, it talks about book 1, A Flight of Wings.
There is a book 2. I've already written it. It's not yet published. That'll be the next step. That one is called A Flight of Dragons. And it's very interesting where the dragons come from. I'm not going to give that away. But yes, Ulu is instrumental in bringing the dragons back. And they are united to fight against this Sarnak character that the High Matriarch also joins with against the people of her land. So that's in book 2. And there's also a book 3 that's coming. It's planned, but I haven't started it yet.
Yes. So we have a continuation here.
Yes, we do.
And that gives our viewing audience, listening now, viewing audience, you want to get this because there's a continuation and you want to follow the story because there's a storyline here.
Yes.
You mentioned something about how the High Matriarch now, she's evil, but the daughter doesn't have those same values. I'm sure that caused some clashes to take place.
Yes. Actually, the spouse or the consort of the High Matriarch was a very good winged man. And so he had great influence on his daughter. Again, that father-daughter relationship. And it formed her character, whereas the High Matriarch's character was formed by her own mother, who was also not a good character. So you're going to see many different characters in this book, some good, some bad, some on the borderline, some making mistakes, some having regrets, some needing forgiveness, some taking actions that they don't necessarily want to take, but are forced to take. But there's redemption, there's forgiveness, and there's a very clear religious message in here too, because I am a Christian and I do, that is very clear. I hope that that was the reason that I wanted to write a book that did not have such a vileness to it that children could not read it, as well as young adults and even grandmothers.
Yes. Now, see, that's powerful because you mentioned something here. You are carrying the readers on a journey.
Yes.
And you are giving them a look into what may be a fictional part, but you have incorporated real life experiences here.
Yes, I have. Yes, I
And
have.
on that journey, you're showing them good and evil, and then how it's a reality.
Right. It really is. I have dealt from my experiences. I've lived in Italy. I've lived in Scotland. I've lived in Saudi Arabia. I've lived all over the Southeast and up into Connecticut. So I've lived in the mountains and I've lived on an island.
Yes.
So I have taken all that and I've tried to use my experiences in this story to show people that, you know, your way may not be the only way in the world. There are other people in the world that may not have your experiences, may not have the opportunities you have, and that you need to broaden your scope, that you need not to be so set in your ways that you can't conceive of other ideas. So I present a lot of different ideas and a lot of different cultures in people. There are desert people. There are creatures called the Malacan. That's what Gorman is. And again, there's a past and there's a future. There are different hierarchies of the people who live in these trees. In fact, they base their name on their tree. They are like tree artists or tree Algrand. So I just try to incorporate my experiences.
Excellent. So, you've done an excellent job. I tell you, it's captivating.
Thank you.
Just sitting here and we're listening, we're discussing. I want to encourage our viewing audience to go out and purchase this fascinating book. In fact, what we're going to do right now, Kathy's going to give you some information, contact information, how you can get in touch with her, how you can get this book, and she's going to disseminate that information to you. Kathy, share that with our viewing audience right now.
Okay, well, in development right now at this time, it's not quite ready, is my website where they can get more information. That'll be coming up in the next day or two. It'll be KathyHyattMooreBooks.com. My middle name is Hyatt. So I use that, Kathy with a K, K-A-T-H-Y, Hyatt, HYATTMOORE.com. That's my website. If they want to talk to me on email, they can reach me on iCloud at kathy.h.moore@icloud.com if they have questions or suggestions. And I'm all about reviews. I want to, I'm a new writer. I want to improve my craft. And I'm going to start incorporating a lot more of my poetry. Since my husband died, I find myself writing quite a bit of poetry. I've written poetry since I was a child, some really bad, some I hope that's good. And I'm hoping to incorporate that in some of the future books. But I find writing to be very comforting. I was an analytical chemist before I was a mother.
Wow, yeah.
My husband was a chemist. In fact, he was my lab instructor at University of Southern Mississippi, where we went to college. And the chemistry was great between us for about 47 years until he died last year. So,
wow.
But I have always liked to write. And so once my children grew up and I had time, that's when I began to put pen to paper or hand to computer and write this book. But it had been brewing behind the scene in my mind for many years.
Excellent. We want to thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Oh, we've enjoyed having you. I'm Dr. Larry Carnes. Stand by. We'll be right back on Spotlight TV.